Good morning. It's Saturday morning. This is the 6th of March 2021. I'm going to take a quick look at the markets, but I'm not going to go into the markets in depth because Jeffrey does a good job of that with his weekend report, and I'm going to concentrate on a few other things. Now, I did a couple of videos yesterday while the market was open. I decided not to send those out because I listened to them this morning and they were rushed and choppy, in my opinion, so I'm going to redo them next week. What I do want to point out today is that under the user groups, if you go in here after you install your add-on, and by the way, I'd like you to delete your warehouse views and charting views before you install the add-on. But you can see that I have put a new folder in here, and it's called Ron's Top 10 User Smart Groups. I was discussing the fact that I have so many scans in the User Smart Groups that it's really confusing, and I was discussing this with Paul Reiki on the Skype board, and he suggested that maybe I should just have a top 10, and that's a good idea, so that's what I'm doing. I have a top 10 end of day, I have a top 10 intraday, and then this is not part of the top 10, but it is for market analysis intraday, and this actually works very well yesterday in that video that I'm not sending out. I could actually see the market shifting, or the market was much stronger in the during the day using these views than it appeared in the major market indexes. So this is very helpful. I'm sorry. This is very helpful intraday, and like I said, I'll cover that again next week when I do a video. So what I've done is I've chosen some groups here, both end of day and intraday, that I think will be most helpful, and these groups may change. So as of now, this is what I've got. I've got 52-week high, recent, strong momentum, perfect speculator stocks. These are stocks that have hit a 52-week high within the past couple of weeks. 52-week high or an all-time high. Here's a pullback of that. This is a VPA effort up. In other words, an effort up flag has to be generated, and the 3 is above the 6. VPOC 1010 crossover, 2-day window. The 3 is below the 6, so this is actually a counter trend. This is a 1010 crossover on the VPOC, or volume point of control, with a 2-day window, and the fan is up. This is VPOC up, or volume point of control up, pocket pivot with the fan up, 3 6-day positive crossover, and this is a VPOC up, pocket pivot, fan up continuation, which means that there has to be a pocket pivot on these the prior day. Wyckoff demand stocks, higher volume, wider spread. Wyckoff demand, wider spread on higher volume, but with a VPOC 1010 crossover with a 2-day window. And shadow stocks. Shadow stocks are stocks trading below $30 or below, between 1 and 30, I should say, that have increasing earnings and increasing revenue. So these are some small stocks which I like to look at that are showing earnings growth. And you'll see some familiar names in here. Now these are end of day, and you don't have to use them end of day only if you, and I don't. What I do is I look at these during the day. The signals were generated the prior day, but the stocks that are going up are the ones that are following through on their signals. Now intraday, all the intraday scans, and you can see I have nothing in here right now because it's Saturday morning. All the intraday scans have to be up for the day. Recent 52-week high, gap down, moving up. This is a good one for those of you who are looking for stocks that have gapped down and moved up. Most active, intraday price up, high relative volume, $1 to $75. Once again, perfect speculator stocks intraday. These are perfect speculator stocks that are following through. Quality momentum scan, $10 and up, 250,000 shares at least. These are stocks that have made big moves over the last year. IPOs up intraday, largest percent gainers intraday with a minimum of 5%. Wyckoff demand stocks, bullish volume point of analysis intraday, and then these are trending stocks. Now, I'm going to pause this and open Thinkorswim, and I'm going to see if I can update these intraday. I'll go ahead and start it and see if it's going to work. Just go in here and rebuild user SmartGroups, and I'll let that go. Okay, so since Thinkorswim is open, even though it's Saturday morning, I was able to fill these fields in on the intraday just by using the rebuild SmartGroups. So this information is going to be the same as the end of day information because it's a Saturday morning, but these stocks are all going to be up. Now I'm going to flip through to the warehouse, and I'll go down here to my preferred views for user SmartGroups. I'll go ahead and use the intraday view on the SmartGroups. So these are the stocks within this SmartGroup that were up yesterday intraday. This may seem a little confusing, but it's really not. It's because it's Saturday morning that I'm going to get the same results from both the intraday and end of day, but just assume it's market day on Friday and you run these intraday scans. It's going to locate stocks that are up for the day but meet the characteristics or meet the requirements of the filter, I should say. And that's what this list is. And you can see that this list is dominated by oil and gas services and equipment, exploration and production. Several of these oil stocks have been extremely strong. I'm going to bring up a chart, and this is just a base chart. And I'm going to drop down here, and I'm going to use this chart number 10 with the expansion contraction, and you can see how well this stock did yesterday. And this didn't start yesterday. This started clear back here when the VPOC went positive and the 3 crossed the 6, and there was a pocket pivot. People, I get questions about wanting to get the signals intraday on through HGSI. Well, you can do it, and all you have to do is go in and do a full update intraday, and actually I'm in the wrong spot. You click on update here, you click on update and include intraday data and run it through, and this will give you the signals that are generated intraday that day, but that isn't even necessary. I mean, I don't do it. I thought, well, I'll do it, but I don't want to update and take 4 or 5 minutes to run a full update in HGSI because there's already plenty of good stocks that were generated the prior day. Now if you are looking for stocks that are on the move that may not have generated a signal the prior day, you can always go into the I'm in the wrong spot. Sorry, I need to go into my designer. Go into these intraday scans and look for the most active up, strong momentum stocks. These are going to be based on the prior day, but these stocks on the most active up, intraday price up, high relative volume, and so on. These stocks are not required. I mean, there are no crossover signals on these. These are just based upon demand and supply that day. Here's another one right down here, largest percentage gainers. But I'm going to look at the most active up, and if you're looking for entries, here's a pocket pivot. Here is a VPOC that turned positive. The 3 hasn't crossed the 6, but this is where you're going to find stocks that are showing a lot of activity. Now this one had already crossed clear back here, but this is in the most active list. I'm going to look down here and see if I can, let me open this up. Okay, this one crossed on Thursday 00, and it turned positive on Friday. So this is what I'm trying to get across here, is that there are plenty of opportunities to find stocks intraday that may be generating a signal which are not or did not have a signal the prior day. Let me look right here. Let's go with this one. Largest percentage gainers. Here's what I'm looking for, I think. Okay, largest percentage gainers. You can see that I go to this column here, days since the 3 crossed the 6. It's negative, and the days since the VPOC crossover is right here. So what does this tell me about NVIV? It tells me the crossover has not yet occurred, but the VPOC occurred yesterday. So let's bring it up, and you can see that here is the signal. This is a cheap stock, but that's just an example. Let me see if I can find anything else here. Now, here is one CTIB where the moving average crossovers is 3 and 6 are negative, and the VPOC is still negative, but it's in the largest percentage gainer today. So I bring it up, and you can see that it had a large percentage gain, 16.49%, but the VPOC has not crossed over, and the moving averages have not crossed over either, but there was a pocket pivot. So if you're looking for stocks that have not really moved up and generated a signal based upon my two or three primary indicators, which are moving average crossovers, the volume point of control, and the pocket pivots, this is where you can find them. Let's look at this one here. These are both negative, and they happened 11 days ago. Okay, another cheap stock, but what do we have here? No crossover today either, no crossover on the 3 versus the 6, but there is a pocket pivot, and there's an effort to rise. Okay, I'll do one more. I haven't looked at these. I'm doing this morning. Okay. Here's another one. They're very active, or largest percentage gainer, I should say. It gained 18.44%. It's hard to tell because of the this huge move up here just dominated it, but there is some money coming in here. Now you can also just have a list of your stocks which are pre-crossover, and I'm going to go back up here to the end of day, and let's look at these. A counter trend, 3 below the 6, and there are 50 securities in here. Fan up. If I click on this, and remember the filter is looking for stocks that have not crossed over yet, but I can look at this and I can see that the VPOC, the days since the VPOC crossover, is primarily 0. Here is one which was 2 days ago, and I'm sorted on raw combo. These are stocks that have not triggered yet, but yet they were up for the day yesterday. So I'm going to bring this up. I'm using the intraday view. The end of day view is going to give me a little different look, but it's the same information on these crossovers. So the 3 hasn't crossed the 6 yet. It's very close, but the VPOC crossed over. So you can have a list of stocks here, and based upon these SmartGroups that have not yet triggered the 3-6 crossover, but the VPOC has crossed over. So this would be early entries on these, and you're going to get this information in the chart because these indicators are built during the day. The volume point of control and the crossover will show it visually in a chart. It just will not generate it in the field over here because it requires a full update. I know this can be a little bit confusing, but it works. I'm just going to have to do a live session to show you this. I will try to do one this week. I don't know if I'll get it done this week. I have to go to Omaha both on Wednesday and Thursday morning. I should say mornings, plural. But there's plenty in here, and I really am not going to take the time to go through these. I want you to play with them. They're all pretty self-explanatory, and like I said, these are my top 10 because, you know, I don't want to. There are so many good scans in here, but it is very confusing because there are so many. So play with these, concentrate on these. Just remember, the end of day, the signals are generated the prior day. The intraday requires that when you run them, that these stocks that are in these groups are positive for the day. This one right here, not necessarily true, but the rest of them are, because this one under intraday, it's the second one down. It's an intraday gap down, and then stocks that are working their way back up. You can see right here, the intraday gap down. It was slightly lower than the day before, and then it's closing near its high. But this is the only exception. On all of these other intraday stocks, they have to be up for the day. Every one of these, you can see they gap down, and then there's buying pressure to the upside. So if you're looking to get into stocks that are a little bit beaten down, and they don't necessarily even have to be beaten down. They could be leaders that gap down for the day, and then buyers are showing support. So the demand is overcoming supply intraday. Okay, before I go, I just want to I haven't really even looked at the market yet today. So actually, I'm going to go down into my user groups, my market analysis user groups. I'm going to look at the major markets plus. I'm going to flip through to that, and then I'm going to go to my top down. I'm going to do this quickly. This is the end of day sort on raw combo. You can see Bitcoin Investment Trust actually was up 5.8%. It was down for a good part of the day. This is an example of this isn't really a stock, but it was down for the day, and then you can see buyers came in to support it. But there's no signal down here. But there is a pocket pivot here, and this shows buying pressure versus selling pressure. Gasoline was up again. This is where the strength has been in the market. There have been all kinds of trades that have been coming up, and unfortunately I ignored most of them. So the VIX is down. Gasoline, oil, stocks ended up having a big day. It closed at 95.49% of its range. Let's bring it up once again. Big shakeout. We don't know if it's a shakeout or this is just a pause, but you can see that the demand overcame the supply. The supply was clear down here. Fear was rampant in the market, and the buyers came back in. You get a lot more information out of looking at a candle than you do out of looking at other indicators because everything is really based upon price and volume and demand and supply. Okay, let's look at the major market ETFs. I'm going to go down here to my ETF analysis, end of day. The ARK funds were really in trouble yesterday, and you can see that the ARKK only closed down 1.1%. Look at the volume, 426.7% compared to the 90-day moving average, and the range closed at 82.03%. Now I'm going to look at the intraday version of this, and I want to point out that the last divided by the low, it ended up, it's ended 10.18% above the low of the day. So lots of fear, lots of people bailing out, lots of stops hit, and by the time it was over, the day was over, it was up near its daily high. This is a bingo bar, which means it's an oversold stock, or ETF in this case, but there was a lot of fear, a lot of money changed hands yesterday, and it's tough to make money in these markets because of the fear level, but those who did come in and buy it, they made some of their money back. Okay, I want to do one more thing. I'm going to go to my broad market indices. These are HCSI indexes, and here's for HCSI analysis. This would be folder right down here. It says for HCSI analysis, and I'm going to go to number 3. And here is the way this ended. The stocks, 28 advancers to 2 decliners. Top 100 stock holdings in the ETFs, 96 to 4 positive. I'm going to sort on this. Top stock holdings in the indexes, these are the major market indexes, 90 to 10. So a complete reversal on these. Once again, demand overcoming supply. The candles, like I said, price and volume candles give you a lot more information. Okay, one more thing and then I'm out of here. I'm going to use the S&P 1500 because it includes the 500, the 400, and the 600, large, small, and mid caps. I'm going to open this up. HCSI index charts. Let's go down here. Let's do this one first. The percent of the stocks within these indexes above their 20, 30, 50, and 100. You can see that they have been falling off for several days. I'll put a crosshair on here. And we got an upturn yesterday at the end of the day. The percent above the 200-day moving average, look at this. This didn't even get close to down here at the red line. And usually when we're going into a major correction, that will fall off the chart like it did here. All of these fell off the chart. So the percent below and above the 200, they get below this moving average line, and that didn't happen. On this steep sell-off back here in March, you can see what happened. Nowhere close to that. So, maybe this is just a short-term correction, and we're going to bounce back from here. Let's do the buy-sell on this. Sorry about that. I'll use my alternate 1 key, and look what happened yesterday. The VPOC 1010 still negative, but the force index turned from red to green. The force index is today's volume times yesterday's. Let me get this straight. It's today's close minus yesterday's close times today's volume equals, and then averaged over 2 days, and that's the force index today. And the force 13 is still negative, but what's interesting about this chart is that it was a 5-to-1 day, both on the advancing issues divided by the declining issues to the upside, and the advancing volume to the declining divided by the declining volume to the upside. Both of these are green, so it was a 5-to-1 day on both of these. Now if I go over to this chart, or this view, you can see right here that it was nearly a 10-to-1 day to the upside on the S&P 1500, advancers divided by decliners. Now I don't have the columns for the volume in here, but just looking at the chart, I know that it was at least a 5-to-1 day to the upside. So this could be a reversal. So just taking these last two views into account, and how the The percent above the 200 did not even get close to that moving average, and these are turning back up. This this correction maybe found a bottom on Friday. I'm not guaranteeing that, but it's something worth considering. That's it for today. I'll try to work a webinar in this week if I have time. I have several conflicts, but if I don't do it this week, I will certainly do it the following week. And I'm going to send out a survey here one of these days to see how much interest there is in doing a 12-week session. I know there's an awful lot to learn in HGSI, and I need to really approach it in a very organized way over 12 sessions and give you a preview of what I want to talk about. It's overwhelming to the newbies, but boy, is it powerful. As you can see, we can do so much with this program. Thanks for listening. Have a good weekend.